this and that, episode 107. The numbers is climbing. And I wonder how many snippets have I used so far. Because I run about between 25 and 30 snips per episode. That's a lot of episodes. But I like it. And as long as you like it, I'm happy and I'll carry on with it. We are in the load shedding seesaw here in South Africa. One day stage 6, one day next day stage 4, and then on very short notice the stages change. So they're keeping us on our toes. But that's a story. Today's big story, I'll handle it in more detail later on, but the big story was that visit of Zelensky to the American seat of government. I don't know if that was a good plan. It was for me quite disturbing that the guy pitched up in his military overalls. I'm going to call it overalls. And it was, for me, I cannot make peace with it. That guy is a Nazi. And he sits there in what is supposed to be the leading democracy of the world. But they entertain a Zazi. I don't know how you have to interpret that. And then there's a lot of other talks. I've listened to a few debates during the day, and there are people that are almost sure that this visit was Zelensky's swan song. How true that will be, we will have to wait and see. But I think that man is very close to the end of the line. I was so brave to do a Skidmark way back, I think in April, in which I predicted that Zelensky is not going to see the end of the year. That's in a few days' time. 8 days to be precise, 9 days. So, 9 days to see if my prediction will come true. I just don't know what it's going to be. A car accident or an overdose. And let's see. But that guy, he's actually dangerous to the whole world. That oak is spoiling for a nuclear fight with Russia. And he will not blink an eye to start that. It seems to me he's managed to draw Poland deeper into the shit. And I can't understand what is the problem with Poland. But I'll do a Skidmark tomorrow in which I'm going to just do some spitballing. Let's go for tonight. I've got stuff on Pestilence and energy, and some shit from Germany, and then there's some green stuff, and something from Russia and from the UK, and a very handy warafak, something that we all need to carry in our pockets. As usual, let's start off with some art. If you look at this image, this is out and out digital graphic, but as I said previously, I'm not going to try and find the meaning behind these things. I look at it for what it is and I see it, and I can see there was an artist involved that knows what he is doing, and he is technically quite good. I like that image. And then we get to the pestilence. China's leading experts suggest pestilence no worse than a cold. As China's zero pestilence policy rapidly collapses, the Chinese population is now being told by a leading pestilence expert that the viral illness is no worse than the cold or the flu. That's right, folks. In a stunning reversal of public health policy, it now appears that the entire world lost its mind for the last 3 years over nothing more than a common cold. It's almost too much to comprehend, and surely the popular media, which played such a large role in facilitating the madness, censorship, lies and destruction of our quality of life, has little interest in spreading the word. And this is quite a thing. And I'm just going to add to this. It will be good to take into consideration that there are analysts that are of the opinion that the driving force behind what was happening in China with the pestilence was not really about the pestilence, but more about preparing that nation for biowarfare. Is it true? I wouldn't know. But in a way it makes sense. And then we have this. Now this is the VAERS, which is the American guys, that's their system where they report problems with medicine. VAERS shows a 4,070% increase in miscarriages and stillbirths since the snakebite. Look at it, think about it, and be very angry. And then we've got this. Many people have died suddenly. Reasons, maybe weather, junk diet, oil, stress, inflation, must be the snow, or the Wi-Fi radiation, breathing, sleeping, difficult life, so the heart just breaks. Wait, what about the experimental shit? Not that. It was safe and effective. Yeah, think about this. I can't understand what the hell is going on. All these things are coming out now. But it looks to me like they're going to get away with it. And then we're in the Donbass. A video from the Donetsk cafe, Shezbesh. Ukraine army tried to kill Dimitri Rogerson, ex-Roscosmos General Director, who celebrated his birthday here today. The Ukrainians opened fire on the institution, a direct hit with a 155 caliber. Rogerson was not injured. Guys, I cannot understand that the West supports this. And then there is more. Look at this. 15th and 16th December were tragic for Donbass, with 14 killed and 38 in hospital after Kiev's attacks on Luhansk and Donetsk republics. 4 schools, 4 kindergartens damaged, and at least 1 hospital. 15 December, heaviest bombing of Donetsk since 2014. 222 shells. I read articles like this, and all I can say is I hope the Russians fuck them up properly. Those Ukrainians must just take note. The Russians are fighting very carefully because those fucking Nazis are in between civilians, and they put their tanks and all their equipment in suburbs and in near civilian buildings and things like that, and it's mostly Russians, the civilians. But slowly but surely the Russians are pushing them out, and once they go across the Dnieper river, they're getting into central Ukraine where there's less Russians. I think all hell is going to be unleashed on those Ukrainian troops, of those that are left. And then we get to the energy. No conclusive evidence Russia is behind the Nord Stream attacks. Western officials privately admits Russia was not involved in Nord Stream explosions. Washington Post. There is no evidence at this point that Russia was behind the sabotage, the Washington Post reports, citing one European official. That claim echoes the assessment of 23 diplomats and intelligence officials in 9 countries interviewed in the recent weeks. The outlet continues. Well, all I can say is, why the fuck will the Russians blow up that pipeline that has cost them millions of dollars to do, if all they need to do is just close a valve? Common sense. And then we get to this gender thing. The Marine Corps plans to get rid of, yes sir, over gender neutrality concerns. What the fuck is that? The once pride of the American armed forces, the Marines. First, with this gender equality and neutrality cock, they are battling to get recruits. They had to drop the standards of the training to accommodate all the genders, and now this shit. And then they want to fight the Russians. And then from Germany, conversation with the president of China. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has asked Chinese leader Xi Jinping in a telephone conversation to use his influence over Russia to urge Vladimir Putin to end the war and withdraw Russian troops from Ukraine. A statement published on the Bundespresident's website said the federal president thanked President Xi Jinping for his clear rejection of nuclear threats from Russia, Steinmeier's website also reported. But I've got just one question. On the one hand, they do shit like this, but on the other hand, the EU officials, everybody says, no peace talks with Russia, send more arms. And then we get this, and I really actually laughed when I saw it. Our tanks are kaput, German general warns. German Defense Ministry, our tanks are kaput. German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht has called an emergency meeting over the disastrous state of the Bundeswehr equipment. During a recent NATO High Readiness Force exercise, all 18 participating Puma infantry fighting vehicles broke down. The problems were many, from electronic failures to defects of the turret. The crew of one vehicle was snuffed out by a burnt-out wiring harness. As a result of the problems, the Bundeswehr has no choice but to rely on Puma's precursor, the 1970s era Marder. The purchase of new Pumas has been suspended. Germany's main battle tank, the Leopard 2, has broken down less in exercises, but the second batch won't be ordered either until the machine proves its resilience. The German army's crappy equipment has made it the laughingstock of NATO, writes Politico, and adds, maybe it's a good thing Germany refused to send Ukraine tanks after all. And I can just laugh about that shit. And then we get to the global revolution. Russia's second largest bank, VTB, has launched a new service allowing both individuals and businesses to transfer money to and from Iran. Russia wants to cooperate with Iran on manufacturing of gas turbines. Iran is committed to supply 40 turbines to Russia to help the country with its plan to build modern gas power plants. Iran is considering a joint production of automobiles with Russia. Iran hosts 6 international transportation exhibitions with representatives from Russia, Italy, China and Singapore. Iran and Russia are discussing joint production of passenger planes with a capacity of 70 to 150 seats. And the world goes on, and Russia is building out its commercial ties with its neighbors, while Europe and America pumps weapons and money into the Ukraine, bankrupting themselves financially and basically disarming themselves. And then they want to fucking fight with the Russians. With what? Are they going to, next they're going to haul out the old catapults or what? And then this one made me laugh. Elon Musk ran a poll on Twitter asking whether he should step down as CEO, and the poll results were 57 said yes, and Musk said, I'll abide by that. And look who he has appointed. Elon Musk to appoint Donald Trump Jr. as a new Twitter CEO after, is this the right move? This is going to be interesting. Then we've got this. Censorship is censorship. The West condemns blasphemy laws in the developing world while it delights in enforcing its own secular blasphemy codes with hate speech laws. This is one of the big problems. Duplicity, and the West has got this arrogant attitude, is that they can dictate what other countries should do. Then we get to the green stuff, and this is something that must make you smile. Electric car fuel being transported to the power station, and it's a train of coal. Wonder what the greenies say about that. And then we have this disturbing shit from Canada. While Drax claims it isn't logging primary and old-growth forests for biomass, we have hard evidence that Drax is doing just that in British Columbia. Watch Maya Lillian show the impact of biomass on Canada's primary forest. Look at that. They're cutting those forests clean. And then they want to give us shit about carbon. Those are the biggest carbon absorbers that there is. And then we've got this. So, how are they going to replace diesel agricultural vehicles? Oh, I suppose they're going to follow in the Dutch footsteps. Canadians, do something. And this is based on the fact that apparently Canada wants to stop all diesel vehicles by 2025 or something stupid. And then we get to this immigration story. Only there's one. Iraqis onthoofd 17-jarig Zweedse meisie. Bewaart haar hoofd als trofee in een koffer. Iraqi immigrant cut this little girl's head off, and he kept the head as a trophy in a suitcase in his apartment. Sick! But this is what is going to happen to Europeans more and more. The barbarians are going to slaughter them. And then we've got this little bit of info. Whites killing blacks, 2%. Police killing whites, 3%. Whites killing whites, 16%. Blacks killing whites, 81%. Police killing blacks, 1%. Blacks killing blacks, 97%. America does have a problem, but it's not what the media tells you, is it? And then we get to NATO. If Ukraine loses the war, the US is beyond finished as a geopolitical player for decades. And with that automatically NATO and the EU going down as well. Could be the worst gamble ever, going all in and betting on the Ukraine to defeat Russia. The US, together with the client states in Europe, set the conditions that Ukraine winning means kicking Russia out of Donetsk, Lugansk and Crimea. Not seeing this happen, and Kiev or Lvov still standing as cities that don't look like Mariupol. Essentially, the US is already almost certainly setting up itself for failure with such goals. Europe also risks to become the collateral damage. US politicians better know what they are doing here, because the consequences of a loss will be felt for a long time. And I have listened to a few debates where the analysts were talking about this, and they are all trying to figure out how the US and NATO is going to get an off-ramp out of this fuck-up in the Ukraine. Because if the Russians has a convincing win there, NATO is finished. And then we get to Russia. Russia reports budget surplus on booming energy profits. Russia's budget surplus more than quadrupled in November, recording another month of significant growth in the revenues from fossil fuels, according to the latest finance ministry report. Data released on Monday shows that the surplus reached 557 billion rubles, which is $9 billion in the first 11 months of the year. That's up from 128.4 billion rubles, over $2 billion, reported for January to October. The report said that the revenues from oil and gas have been surging, already exceeding the full year target in the first 11 months. The budget received more than 10 trillion rubles, around $160 billion in revenue from energy exports, up by 111.7% for the year. Now, let's all send a message to Ursula von der Crazy and tell her that it is the European economy that is in tatters, not the Russian economy. And then this from Putin, and it is quite a statement. Our future generations will be born without Rothschild chains around their wrists and ankles. This is the best present we can provide. Putin announces total independence from Rothschild-controlled US dollar. Yes, I like that. And then we get to this fucking clown, Boris Johnson. Russia's barbaric and illegal invasion of Ukraine has led to millions of Ukrainians losing electricity, water and vital supplies. I am supporting the Hour for Ukraine tonight at 8 p.m. in solidarity with them. Victory to Ukraine. Stand in solidarity with Ukraine this Christmas. Switch off your festive lights. Show your support. This Johnson, I haven't got anything nice to say about him, and I'd rather stop because I will swear a lot if I talk about him. And then we get to that what a fuck moment, and as I said, this is something that we all should carry in our pockets. Look at that. That is the type of test that you should be able to do quickly with anyone that you are engaging with, so that you can know what you can expect. And on that note, please give me a like and a subscribe and a share, and thank you very much for your support.